Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints. My name is Connor. I'm a science fiction, politics, and philosophy nerd, a Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran, and I would argue a real Republican, meaning that I hold actual Republican values. Adam Mockler is an interesting young fella. I met him several years ago during the 2024 campaign. I think he's a smart cookie, and I think he's really...
Every time one of these tragic shootings...
bullying MAGA figures. So what we're going to do as the opening content on this beautiful day is we're going to watch Adam Mockler bully people for fun. I'll be pausing intermittently to break it down. Let's go.
Happens. Everybody's at each other's throats about which side did it, but we're missing a broader pattern in America. This was another young white dude who's in his 20s. We have seen this pattern...
Okay, cringe with young white dude, but go ahead.
Accelerating over the past decade. The same day Charlie Kirk was shot, the same exact time, there was a neo-Nazi who shot up a school in Colorado. We can look at the acceleration of the radicalization of young men through a few frameworks. There's the COVID pandemic, which had people isolated, had a bubble around themselves, and a lot of young men failed to pull that bubble down and got sucked down.
Kirsten Clark says, can anyone explain the Valor versus Counterpoints channel, and is there a schedule for streams on each? Yes. Counterpoints Politics is where I post my VODs. It's also where I go live on Tuesdays. That is my channel. I own that channel, okay? I go live on Tuesdays so I can cross-pollinate, promote Valor Media Network and my home channel. Now, Valor Media Network is a offshoot of Midas Touch, but if you support this channel, then it also supports me because they pay me a small but real salary. And we also have like a revenue share agreement. So if you want to support here, it actually helps out a lot. But the point is, I'm live on Valor Media Network Monday through Friday, every day except for Tuesday. On Tuesdays, I'm live on Counterpoints Politics, 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. EST.
These algorithms. I've seen it happen to my close friends. They get sucked down these algorithms. We have foreign actors trying to sow chaos in America, sow division. How much does Putin salivate when he sees us at each other's throats? Then we have
True. Get him, Adam.
Domestic actors, people like Elon Musk, riling it up. So all of these factors, wait, hold up, Ben. All of these factors come together to create this pattern that we see.
Everything he said so far, except for, in my opinion, the white men, even if it's descriptively true, I think it's off-putting to conservatives to hear it described that way. But everything he said is solid so far. And my only problem with it is he's monologuing. And I love monologuing. You guys know me. I love monologuing. So this is the pot calling the kettle black. But you need to, what Stephen does, you know, Destiny, Stephen Bennell II, what he does is he gets in and he throws a punch, you know? Throws a punch right into their face. And then the other people get frustrated and then they throw a punch. And then you go back and forth, and that makes for spicy content. It's not that Adam's not doing good. He's doing great. But I think he needs to get better at punching. And again, I'm guilty of the same sin of which I accuse Adam Mockler.
Of young men in my age range committing these shootings, and if you want to sit here and go back and forth, tit for tat, I can say Dylan Roof, Robert Bowers, John Earnest, none of these were black people, none of these were trans people, none of these were even Democrats. These were neo-Nazis who had things carved into their guns. You can sit here and muddy the waters, but you are just lying.
I just don't want innocent people to die. Sue me for that. I am saying...
I just don't want people to die. What a non-point. Xena says, on the other hand, Dems made a deal with the devil, according to leftists who actively want them dead. Sure, agreed.
To tone down his rhetoric.
If you think this is Trump, this is exactly, you literally
I'm sorry,
just
but the
What's up, everybody? Adam Mockler here. This is by far the most heated CNN debate I've done yet, and I want you guys to watch until the end because I try to bring in some unique points throughout Ben Ferguson's MAGA chaos.
Yeah, Test Demi Human says, I've got a friend running a sanctuary for old dogs that are hard to get adopted. It's a really nice thing she's doing, but it's emotionally tough. That's what I want to do eventually, too. My parents used to own, they sold it, but they used to have 10 acres in Christmas, Florida, which is like Redneckville, like filled with meth and pills and, you know, drive-by shootings and all sorts of crazy shit. But it's also an agricultural area that's filled with horses and cows, and they had 10 acres. If I could find a similar property in Central Florida, I don't want to drive out that way because that way is pretty far. But if ideally, if I could get 10 acres and turn it into like a dog sanctuary eventually, that's what I would do. That's what I would do. I would run a retirement home for dogs. Adam has a very interesting chin. True, he has like the button chin of like a superhero, but then his jaw is still very boyish. So yeah, I'm with you. Test Dummy Human gifted 5 Valor Media Network memberships. Thank you, King. I parasocially love you. Not just for the donations, but also just for being here. Quick chill, like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them.
The guy that I'm about to debate is Ted Cruz's podcast co-host. So you see where the brain rot drips in from. But just once again, watch until the end. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the feed, and I'll see you guys later.
New York, let's get right to what America's talking about. Justice may not be blind after all, especially when the president's enemies are in the line of sight. The feds are said to be nearing a decision on charges against James Comey, accusing him of lying to Congress on the handling of the Russia investigation. The former FBI director has long said that he testified truthfully. The testimony happened back in 2020. And since the law requires any charge within 5 years, the DOJ now only has literally a few days before that deadline expires. But here's the important fine print in all of this. This is coming after Donald Trump publicly demanded that his attorney general charge Comey and
Hippopotaman says, wait, where do you live? I live in Central Florida, brother. I don't want to be like too specific, but I live in Central Florida.
Other political rivals. Now, it's important to note, this is the same district in which Trump said that he fired a prosecutor for failing to find enough evidence against Letitia James, the attorney general in New York. Now, it's being run by one of Trump's
AKA Badasui says, we were supposed to turn down the rhetoric for Trump's second term, but everyone wants the left to punch more. Well, no offense, bud. You got federalized National Guard being deployed to American cities. You got federal troops being deployed to American cities. They're not doing law enforcement operations yet, but that would be a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act. And we're still seeing whether or not the courts would actually hold Trump accountable for violations of pretty much any law. We're waiting to see whether or not the Trump administration could be held accountable with this current Supreme Court. Then, aka Badasui, I know you like to steel man the contrarian right. In my opinion, the Trump administration deserves constant scrutiny and criticism when you have Stephen Miller, doing cringe boomer posting, paraphrasing Goebbels, when you have Donald Trump, again, deploying federalized troops, when you have them drone striking civilian boats in the Caribbean, when you have them killing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people through the slashing of USAID. So, yeah. Well, okay. I can deal with that. AK Badasui says, no. I understand. It's just that we got 3 more years of this. Yeah, you're right. We probably need to pace ourselves. I'm just grumpy today. My apologies. Xena says, did you see the video of ICE chasing a guy on a bike and just jukes them out? Were they literally just chasing him for being brown? I don't know, but either way, it was kind of funny. Nick Frost says, if the Democrats are going to sit around 4 out of 10 for aggression and still be painted as the Antichrist by Republicans, why not go for 6 out of 10? I mean, why not? Fuck it. It'll at least be entertaining.
Former lawyers who has never prosecuted a case.
Donald Trump literally has had a mugshot because.
Yes, it's that, which is insane. Sorry for the summary here is they had, bear in mind I could summarize it incorrectly, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm just a dickhead with a web camera, okay? My understanding is that they had a seasoned prosecutor who said there is insufficient evidence in order to go after James Comey. Then not only that, I think the lead prosecutor who was asked to bring charges resigned. And so then they had like an environmental attorney that Trump likes, who has never prosecuted a criminal case, create the case against Comey and then charge it 5 days before expiration. So again, feels pretty flimsy. Feels like a political stunt.
As the witch hunt against him.
But again, what the
FBI had
the witch hunt against him. Are we going to acknowledge that he lied about 2020, that he did the January 6th insurrection, that he was successfully convicted of doing fraudulent business stuff, even if you think it's New York, even if you think New York is cringe, that also I think he was prosecuted in Georgia. I think that case ultimately fell apart, but his entire team was lying about fraud in Georgia to the point that 2 women were like harassed, death threats, lost their jobs, hunted for being traitors to the United States. And I think that Rudy Giuliani had to pay like a $100 million lawsuit to the people that the Trump administration were lying about in reference to election voter fraud. So are we just pretending none of that happened? Sorry, again, I know this is a family show, but I'm very grumpy today. You vampire. You effing vampire.
On to my point. I am. Yeah. James Comey, and one of the things I think people very clearly, if you watch him in his own words, he's very proud of the politicalization of what he did to attack Donald Trump. A great example.
To save the republic? Yeah, okay. Sorry. Politics is who wields power, how, and why. If Donald Trump can't prove the 2020 outcome determinative voter fraud, if he tried to steal it through the fake elector scheme, if he did a riot that went through the Capitol, if he harassed people in Georgia trying to find 11,000 votes so he could beat Biden in Georgia, then why wouldn't he be criminally prosecuted? If he committed grievous crimes against the Republic of the United States, why wouldn't he be attacked legally? This is where, like, Trump, people call it TDS, like Trump derangement syndrome. This is Trump, in my opinion. Sorry to my contrarian right people who still like Trump. This is Trump devotion syndrome. Or if you want to say it more crass, it's Trump dick sucking syndrome. It's where you throw out all of your principles so you can play into the cult of Trump. So you think that I'm guilty? You think I'm guilty of clout chasing by associating with bigger creators? There is no bigger clout chasers on the planet than the people who sweep for Trump.
Was him grandstanding when he was sitting there on a forum talking about, I sent a couple FBI agents into the White House because I could, and the Trump administration didn't know what.
And sorry, real quick, A.K. Batasui says, I like Connor at 2x speed. Well, I have good news for you. Type in Counterpoints Politics into your search bar, find my channel, watch the VODs at 2x speed. You could have 2x Connor all the time.
Protocol was, so I took advantage of their ignorance or trust to go after General Flynn, to try to go after Donald Trump and get something on Donald Trump.
I like how Ben tried to invoke Trump's mugshot as some sort of proof or some sort of way to handle.
Oh, get him, Adam. Adam, are we psychically linked? Are we psychically linked? Sorry, real quick. Tristan Clark says, do you think that the rhetoric debates will just be used by the right to delegitimize liberal parties into a soft Satin-style purging? By soft, I mean no death. Doesn't matter. Democrats, if they have a spine, shouldn't accept it.
And waive this, which you're conceding in that they are politicizing the government. You're not even denying, neither the conservatives on this panel are denying that Trump is politicizing the government. You just invoke Trump's mugshots.
No, I didn't. I said that.
Is there a single... Can you show me a tweet from Biden asking his DOJ or asking his Attorney General? So there's no tweet from Biden asking his Attorney General to
Joe Biden did tweet, but he also didn't President.
Is there any line from President Biden saying go after these three people? If you can't point that to me, then you invoking Trump's mugshot is trying to both sides this when this is a clear weaponization of DOJ.
What Biden did, he wrote.
Get him, Adam. Get him. Get him, Adam.
A letter going after parents in Virginia and putting them on an FBI watch list.
So you can't,
he went after Catholics.
You can't point me to a single example of Biden
or the IRS when they went after people.
Let's just back up a second. This is the first time we've heard of this. Let me finish. Let me finish what I'm saying. So Trump ran an entire campaign talking about this. The Americans voted for this. So Americans were sick and tired
of a radical.
You won by like 50. You won by like 0.5% or 1%. Shut up.
FBI that went after.
Let me ask you a question.
100%. So this is not a surprise that we're like sitting here.
Hunter Biden was being investigated during Biden's term. Do you think Don Jr. would ever be investigated by Pam Bondi?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Wait, hold on. If he did a crime.
Oop. Sorry. Let's take a look.
This is not a surprise that we're like sitting here.
Hunter Biden was being investigated during Biden's term. Do you think Don Jr. would ever be investigated by Pam Bondi?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Get him, Adam. Get him. Now, listen, I think that there's some Biden sweeping. I think the Democrats sweep for Biden. I think my own chat sweeps for Hunter Biden. So, once again, I need to remind the chat, 60% of whom are liberal, that there's jaywalking, okay, or trespassing after warning, and that's what Hunter Biden is guilty of, okay, in my opinion, in an analogistic, in a metaphorical sense, okay? Hunter Biden used his family's name to sell clout, influence, and access to overseas corrupt corporations that he then funneled back into his family to the tune of like $10 million over the course of a decade that he did not pay proper taxes on. In my opinion, that's what Hunter Biden is guilty of. However, when you compare that to Donald Trump being worth $5 billion before his presidential run, and then through the Trump coin, the Melania coin, the plane that he wants to put at the Trump library and use for his personal thing. Like, I think they've estimated that Trump has raked in $3 or $4 billion in the past year, okay? Effectively meaning that in Trump 1, he didn't double his net worth. But in Trump 2, he doubled his net worth through corruption that makes the Biden corruption look cute. So we're talking about Hunter Biden is guilty of, metaphorically, trespassing or jaywalking, and Donald Trump is guilty of murder. Okay? And just so Sam says, Jesus Christ, let's just go ahead and make sure I'm not bullshitting. Let's just make sure that I'm not bullshitting the chat with what has allegedly happened through Donald Trump's alleged corruption. So Donald Trump has increased his net worth by billions. So yeah, so he went from 5 to 7. This was written in 2025. Presidency boosts net worth by $3 billion in a year. Billion with a B. Okay. President is now worth 7.3 billion, up from 4.3 when he was still running for office. The $3 billion gain vaulted him 118 spots on the Forbes list. No president in U.S. history has used his position, power to profit as immensely as Trump. His primary vehicle for enrichment is cryptocurrency, an asset class full of hype and vulnerable to regulators. Think about this. Trump has enriched himself through Trump coin by $3 billion. And not only that, what was it? It's like people who bought $1 million or more got to go to a private dinner with Donald Trump. Think about that. I accuse and stand by my accusations that Hunter Biden did the same thing, except for he never did any deliverables. So he said, oh yeah, I'm the Secretary of State's son. Oh, I'm the Vice President's son. Oh, I'm the President's son. I don't know if Biden was ever the Secretary of State, but you know what I'm saying, right? I'm the Vice President's son. I'm the President's son. You know, let's go to dinner. Give me hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'll help you get connected in Washington, D.C. I don't care if you're corrupt. I don't care if you're, accused of murder. I'll help you get connections in Washington, D.C. Burp, burp, burp. And then he would just not deliver fruitful connections in Washington, D.C. Right? Whereas Donald Trump is doing the same thing, but not for $10 million over the course of a decade. He's doing it for $3 billion within the course of a year.
Wait, hold on. If he did a crime, I think, yeah.
No, he would not.
By the way,
Donald Trump Jr.
The Biden crime family.
You know that's not true.
Wait, let's be clear.
Yes.
Let's be clear about Hunter Biden and what Hunter Biden did. No,
that wasn't the question.
See, the fact that he's even bringing this up already is embarrassing. Like, I hope that there's a God so he can punish us all, but especially punish the Republicans who sold their souls to sweep for the Trumps.
Sitting on the board of Burisma right now and was taking massive amounts of money. I have no doubt. Again, I actually think that
One second.
Dude, if this was an honest conversation, then we would eliminate these 3 members of the panel. Adam Mockler would just annihilate this guy, and he would be like, okay, let's talk about Trump coin.
Second, it's just too many people talking at one time. For an entire week, conservatives at this table and across the country argued that Jimmy Kimmel's suspension was solely a business decision by ABC.
Oh, wow. No resolution. Amazing. Thank you for running a Twitch and YouTube politics panel. Dude, this is the other thing that's embarrassing. I'm sorry for getting so effing mad. I'm super grumpy today, which I know makes for better content, but I'm like really, really, really grumpy today. This is a Twitch and YouTube politics panel, okay? This is a Twitch and YouTube politics panel. The only difference between Katarana or whoever that chick was who worked for Prime Kai and worked for Dylan Burns and dated Dylan Burns for a while, the only difference between Katarana and this chick is this chick went to, like an Ivy League. She has a better, I don't know, is this a wig? Is this extensions? What is this? I don't understand black women hair. But anyways, she has better hair and she's dressed in a $3,000 suit. That's the only difference between Katarana and this chick. Okay. The only difference between Adam Mockler and me is Adam Mockler is nice and he doesn't say potty words. The only difference between Rob Noor and that fucking loser who's on this panel is that Rob Noor is I'm going to be mean. Sorry if you're fat. But Rob Noor is a fat, flat-footed fucking loser. And the guy who's on the panel is, a Ivy League educated business suit wearing Trump dick sucker. Okay. There's very little difference. It's actually just a question of money and class. This show, I think her last name is Phillips. This show is just Twitch and YouTube politics with better production value. Embarrassing.
And not at all influenced by the government. And then Donald Trump wiped it away. He again threatened.
That was so funny, dude. It was, I'm sorry. Like the problem is you cannot hold Trump dick suckers. And again, I'm sorry for being vulgar, but I'm just super grumpy today. You can't hold these people to account because what happens is you're on Twitter, you're looking at the FCC guy talking shit to ABC proudly and saying that like, oh yeah, you need to take him off the air. We're going to do regulatory stuff. And then you talk to like Trump dick suckers and then they're like, well, Trump never said it. Trump never did it. Trump, you can't point to me in order where Trump did it. And then, so you're arguing with them about whether or not it's reasonable to hold Trump accountable for the actions of the FCC. And even if it's not a specific violation of the law, is it a spiritual violation of the First Amendment that's worrisome, along with all the other crazy shit that Trump's doing? So then you're getting into the weeds of the principle of the matter versus the technocratic bullshit that, like, not even the technical bullshit that they're trying to drag you down in the weeds. And then what happens is Trump says, yeah, lol, I'm going to sue ABC because that guy shouldn't be able to make fun of me. And then the Trump dick suckers just disappear. They just poof into the ether. They don't have to acknowledge that Trump made them look like idiots. They don't have to acknowledge that the FCC chair made them look like idiots. They don't have to acknowledge that their devotion made them sweep for the violation of a principle that should be held dear by all Americans. They don't have to answer for anything. The second they lose an argument by proving wrong, they just disappear into the ether and they stop fighting. It's fucking embarrassing, dude. You know what's also embarrassing? Something that happened today, or happened yesterday, actually. You know another thing that's fucking embarrassing? Another thing that's embarrassing is Trump tweeted out an AI video of med beds. I don't know if you guys saw this, and I'm not going to pull it up, but it's so embarrassing that it makes it looks like it makes Biden's dementia look cute. It makes Biden's dementia look funny, okay? Donald Trump tweeted out a 2-minute AI video, a fake video on Fox News about a medical technology that the Trump administration was rolling out that has never existed. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? Like, do you... I'm going to have a stroke. I need to calm down. I'm going to have a stroke. This guy tweeted out a fake video of himself. Do you know how cringe that is? I have to calm down. I'm actually going to have a fucking stroke. All right. Back to it.
Threatened ABC for bringing Kimmel back, and now his vice president is contradicting that, claiming that the administration's threats are all just a joke.
Well, people will say as well, didn't the FCC commissioner put a tweet out that said something bad? Well, compare that, the FCC commissioner making a joke on social media. What is the government act?
It's just the memes, guys. We just did it for the memes.
Action that the Trump administration has engaged in to kick Jimmy Kimmel or anybody else off the air? Zero. What government pressure have we brought to bear to tell people that they're not allowed to speak their mind? Zero. We believe in free speech in the Trump administration. We are fighting every single day to protect it.
Now, before we discuss, it's worth noting that Kimmel's return scored 3 times his average viewership on TV and 15 million views on YouTube. That's a lot of people, perhaps some Sinclair and Nexstar subscribers, but I can't imagine that the vice president is not aware of what actually happened here.
This is the delusion of this conversation. He literally said that he was killed by somebody that was in Maga. That was a lie. We knew that wasn't true. And he refused to apologize.
Let me ask you
real men with integrity walk out there and say,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
So
Has Donald Trump ever done that?
Jr. and Elon Musk and Senator Mike Lee apologized for saying that the Minnesota shooter was on the left?
I don't know if they have or not.
Okay, they haven't.
They have.
Okay. So my point is, it's the exact same
I'm okay
thing.
with that. But Jimmy Kimmel, I think you can agree, this was a bigger issue at the moment.
That's it got more attention.
A lot more. He's crying on set.
But this was also a political.
He's crying on set, not crying for Charlie Kirk.
But not only Minnesota, but not
crying
only,
because
not
woe
only,
is me in my career.
This is why this somewhat falls on deaf ears, because this is why those individuals who are not Democrats or Republicans find all of us to be full of it. Because the simple fact is, Don Jr. had a picture of a hammer in underwear after Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked in his home, right? And so when you have individuals who do that, and then you say you have all these other talking points about people chanting and celebrating Charlie Kirk's death on the left, and you don't really give a complete look at the voices who are saying that we condemn that. But let me just say,
lie about it.
But if you want to talk about the lie, I mean, look at everybody on Fox News who lied about 2016. I mean, is that the barometer?
Let me give Adam a second.
True.
I agree with Bakari. We should look at the full picture. If you want to talk about Erica Kirk, she said she doesn't hate the other side. Then Donald Trump came on stage right after and said, I do hate my opponents. This is the president of the United States, not some comedian. And by the way, it is so incredibly clear that Trump is pulling every lever possible to make sure that everybody consolidates around him ideologically, whether it's with Jimmy Kimmel being pulled off the air, whether it's with Comey. I mean, I did the research. Donald Trump's priorities are so off that he has mentioned Comey on his Truth Social 2,042 times.
Yeah,
how many times do you think he's mentioned? How many times has he mentioned inflation? How many times has he mentioned inflation?
Well, when you fix inflation, you don't have to mention it.
He did not fix it, and he's mentioned it. He's mentioned it half as many times.
Look at Wall Street.
Sorry, I'm trying not to have a stroke.
You're just wrong.
He's mentioned inflation half as many times as Comey on his Truth Social.
Because he actually
because
works
his priorities
on it.
lie in petty vengeances. Ben, let me finish.
Go back.
His priorities lie.
Ben,
we're talking about inflation right now, not about Jimmy Kimmel.
I'm just letting him finish his point. Then we got to.
I'm just trying to say Donald Trump's priorities lie in petty vengeances, going after Comey, going after Kimmel, and he's not fixing this tariff mania. Right now, unemployment is up.
Is the economy good or bad right now?
We're going to leave it there.
Tariffs are making it worse.
All right. Next for us, the president introduces a new renovation at the White House, and this
Wow, this is worse than a Twitch and YouTube politics panel.
one trolls his predecessor. Tonight, the People's House now has a trolling hall. The White House revealed a new presidential walk of fame with photos of presidents in order. But if you look closely, there is one particular president missing, or rather represented by something other than his face. Instead of a photo of President Biden, there is a photo of an auto pen. Hilarious, I suppose. I mean, I don't know.
I'm looking forward to the auto pen responding to this, by the way.
Feels very beneath the office, but I guess go for it.
True or false, the auto pen signed more things under Joe Biden's last year in office than Joe Biden signed.
I mean,
is it really trolling if it's true?
Doesn't Trump use the auto pen as well?
I promise you, when it comes to pardons and clemencies, it's going to be his own signature. Like, he actually shows up for work and doesn't take naps in the middle of the day. He had a 4-hour work day.
Let me just tell you,
his own team said.
I will only vote for the Democratic candidate in 2028 that removes Trump's presidential portraits and replaces them with photos of him and Epstein. So many photos of him and Epstein. More photos than.
Yeah. Get him.
Me and my own grandparents, I feel like it's just
I'm still looking forward to the auto pen responding to the outrage over the auto pen. I'm excited about it.
To listen to Kimmel and
I have to limit the conversation away from the pedophilia. Good job, Scott Jennings, you fucking loser.
just like take the joke. I mean, it's funny. We got to laugh. And frankly, there have been Democrat presidents that have had way more offensive things that are beneath the office.
Like what?
Name one.
Monica?
I mean,
But he just
dress?
mentioned Jeffrey Epstein. So look, my only point is that this is beneath the office. And I just remember back in something that I actually can remember when Republicans on Fox News and everywhere else were completely outraged about Barack Obama wearing a tan suit or having a selfie stick. This is how far we've fallen. Now we have somebody who actually has decorated the halls of the White House, making a joke. I mean, I just find.
Hold on, did they or did they not put Hunter Biden art in the White House? They did, and it made the money, the value of the art go up. So and then they sold said art. So let's dial that back a little bit.
If Biden would have hung up Trump's mugshot as a joke, you would be like curled up in a ball crying, saying nothing like this has ever happened.
I would have said I would
get him, Adam.
expect that.
No, you would not be okay with that. You would say this is beneath the presidency. But the broader point is, why is Donald Trump still going after these petty grievances and all of these insane things?
I think they're just having fun. I think they're just having fun. We got bigger problems. Why are we so upset?
I mean, I think maybe that's the point. We have bigger problems.
And the fact is, we have
a lot of bigger problems.
Who wants you to be talking about this?
It is. You have to admit, if you're just walking through and you saw that, it's a little funny.
It's both things. It's both kind of hilarious and kind of appalling, right? I mean, like at the same time, like it is funny. As I watched it happen, I'm like,
I will say he can fix it. If Trump buys a Hunter Biden picture and puts it in between, then it'll be bipartisan.
I'm just so sick of everything being a joke, whether it's Trump like tweeting directly at Pam Bondi saying something, or whether it's Trump saying he wants
you right now we need more jokes than ever, my friend.
Well, that's why that's why Jimmy Kimmel's
The president's words mean nothing right now. The president's words mean nothing. This is a man who sets deadlines, blows through those deadlines. This is a man who makes.
You're reaching way too far, bro.
I'm not reaching.
No, he's not. Adam Mockler is nailing you to the fucking wall, and anybody who's paying attention to anything should realize that.
It's pretty funny.
The president's words mean nothing, and we sit here and laugh as he,
All right, everybody. Thank you very much. We'll be back in a moment. Another day, another act of political violence in America.
Oh, wow. 4 minutes.
And another round of the blame game. A sniper opening fire at an ICE facility in Texas, killing one detainee and hurting 2 others. The suspect died after turning the gun on himself. Now, not long after, the FBI director published images of shell casings with the words anti-ICE written in blue. Also, not long after the shooting, the political lines were drawn.
You don't have to agree with my immigration policies. You don't have to agree with Donald Trump's immigration policies. But if your political rhetoric encourages violence against our law enforcement, you can go straight to hell, and you have no place in the political conversation of the United States of America.
So, look, this is extremely disturbing that there's another one of these types of shootings. I think we've got to deal with this as a country, first of all. But I also, just for starters, I'm curious, how does it help to have the vice president say that?
Because the third one in Texas. I mean, if you know people that work in law enforcement, my family does. I know ICE agents in Texas. This is the third attack we've seen in Texas, in the same district.
Sorry. Trump, alligator, Alcatraz. So here's the Attorney General, I'm assuming of Florida, proudly endorsing alligator Alcatraz. Here's the memo. Here's a meme. Here's the actual facility. Why wouldn't people get pissed off? Now, that doesn't mean that you should shoot random people. Why wouldn't people be angry?
As the man in charge today was saying, like, this is the second time he's had to have a press conference today.
Who was killed today? Who was killed today?
So you're saying since it wasn't...
That's not what I'm at. No.
So you're saying since it wasn't... It was innocent people that were killed today.
Don't put words in my mouth.
No, you asked a question. I'm answering your question. You're saying since it wasn't ICE agents that were killed, that therefore this is a null and void conversation?
No. That's not what I'm saying at all. And that's gaslighting. I'm asking you a simple question because when JD Vance went up there, and when
This
you're
is
coming
not
up
a
here,
good argument from you.
first of all, I am
innocent people got shot today, and you're like, well, it wasn't ICE agents that got shot.
Not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the division that you all are sowing in this country.
I'm not sowing anything. I'm saying protect all law enforcement.
Because of the simple fact, yes, protect
Gavin Newsom went on TV last night.
I don't like Gavin Newsom, so I condemn him.
You know, every time one of these tragic shootings happens, everybody's at each other's throats about which side did it, but we're missing a broader pattern in America. This was another young white dude who's in his 20s. We have seen this pattern accelerating over the past decade. The same day Charlie Kirk was shot, the same exact time, there was a neo-Nazi who shot up a school in Colorado. We can look at the acceleration of the radicalization of young men through a few frameworks. There's the COVID pandemic, which had people isolated, had a bubble around themselves, and a lot of young men failed to pull that bubble down and got sucked down these algorithms. I've seen it happen to my close friends. They get sucked down these algorithms. We have foreign actors trying to sow chaos in America, sow division. How much does Putin salivate when he sees us at each other's throats? Then we have domestic actors, people like Elon Musk, riling it up. So all of these factors, wait, hold up, Ben. All of these factors come together to create this pattern that we see of young men in my age range committing these shootings. And if you want to sit here and go back and forth, tit for tats, I can say Dylan Roof, Robert Bowers, John Earnest, none of these were black people. None of these were trans people. None of these were even Democrats. These were neo-Nazis who had things carved into their guns. You can sit here and muddy the waters, but you are just lying.
I just don't want innocent people to die. Sue me for that. I am
and maybe
saying,
tell Trump to tone down his rhetoric.
What a vapid statement. Listen, guys, I know I'm not giving you my best commentary. I know I'm not pausing intermittently, but I'm actually like so angry that I think it's bad for my health. Like I am so angry right now that intelligent Republicans are sweeping for the Trump admin. I'm so angry that the best that we can offer, and by the way, Adam's a talented guy, but the best we can offer for national discourse is, no offense, Adam, kind of Twinkie, is an intelligent twink to go fight these people on 5-minute panels. I'm so angry that every principle that we've ever had as a republic is just being trampled on and people are cheering it on. I'm just really angry. So I'm trying to calm down so I don't actually have a stroke on stream right now. But I'm a mix of furious and depressed and anxious. And I need to work out. That's probably what I need to do. I'm probably going to start working out in a second. But I'm angry. I'm beyond angry. And I think I'm angry because in any sane world, Scott Jennings would listen to what Adam Mockler is saying and actually make concessions, but he doesn't, because he's not interested in the truth. He's interested in winning for his side. And this is why I'm never going to create content, or at least, I mean, never's a strong word, but I will tell you if I create content where I'm exclusively trying to win instead of trying to pursue the truth. Because I think it's bad. I think it's really bad for our discourse. I think all the wordsmanship, I think all the rhetoric, I think the games that we play, I think the having a bunch of lawyers run our society, but lawyers who exclusively view conversations as adversarial battles rather than the pursuit of truth. I think it's destroying us. I think it's actually we have enough guardrails that we're probably going to survive, but I think we're destroying ourselves, and it's really infuriating, and it makes me sad. Infuriating, and it makes me sad. So I'm sorry for being grumpy. I'm sorry for not having much commentary. I'm sorry for maybe not being as cheerful or white-pilled as I normally am, but I'm pretty fucking angry. And Scott Jennings, I think that's this guy's name. He's emblematic of everything that I think is wrong with Republicans these days.
If you think this is Trump, this is exactly you literally
I'm sorry,
just
but the political
entire argument. So Abby, let me go back to
can I make something that might be a little bit more controversial?
Endless charity for the worst administration in recent American memory.
Hold on a second.
All right, from there it devolved further. I'm sure you can picture what happened, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And some news, if you made it this far, we are starting our own debate format in Chicago. I mean, I've been on CNN to debate, Jubilee, I did Pierce Morgan, but we're going to start our own bleeding edge format where we debate people. And honestly, it's because of you all. I just want to say thank you. I am eternally grateful for everything that we built. And this is only early stages. We are going to continue to grow. We are going to continue to push the country in the direction that we want, and we won't stop until we do. So again, thank you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
And I think at the same time.
So now we have two
All right, we
people
still
here
have
who are saying.
we still have additional content. Oh, I'm sorry for being so angry. Let me try to summarize something into something substantive. In my opinion, this is indicative of the cultural rot at the heart of the Republican Party. And the reason why is because of exactly what's going on right here, where the MAGA party has abandoned Burkean conservatism, environmental conservatism, neoconservatism, social conservatism, and fiscal conservatism. They're not even trying. And smart, well-educated people are defending it, and it's fucking poison. It's rat poison for the soul of this country. Rat poison.
Can't you just take responsibility for it?
Oh,
on the left.
Me?
You literally said that.
Listen, let me finish.
And then you agreed with it.
You want to know what I said? I said Donald Trump created this environment over the past decade. You sat here and said, I need to take responsibility. I'm a 22-year-old YouTuber. You hold me to a higher standard than the man that
I'm holding you to your standard of your punditry.
Donald
Your
Trump was
punditry
just
is that Trump's at
vomiting
fault.
vitriol out of his mouth about how the other party is weak and evil. And he just said the party of hate, evil, and Satan. You blind yourself to that, and you're focusing on a 22-year-old YouTuber.
Hey, everyone. Adam.
I'm going to say it. Raped. Adam Mockler just rhetorically raped that guy. Fuck that guy.
Adam Mockler here. This is going to be a good video. I just wrapped up my New York Media Week with one final debate on CNN, and I faced off against MAGA commentator and Trump's friend, Scott Jennings. So I urge you guys to watch until the
Bud Farmer says, Bill Kristol tried to tell you to abandon conservatives instead of trying to go back to the old times. Yeah, well, Bill Kristol looks like he's on the verge of eating a gun, so no offense. I'm not going to take advice from the guy who got us into the Iraq war and looks like he's on the verge of committing suicide.
end. I urge you guys to follow the Adam Mockler feed. And once again, thank you all.
The series of events that took place here, we have to actually be clear about what happened, right? He tried to press.
Bud123 says, in this format, this is the best debate Connor for views on debate panels, such as when Connor has his hand up on the WIC panel.
Eric Siebert at the Eastern District of Virginia to pursue this prosecution. He did not. The U.S. prosecutors there said they did not see enough evidence. So he forces him out. He publicly declares to Pam Bondi, you need to target these political enemies, specifically labeling James Comey. And then, right after that, installs Lindsay Halligan, a former insurance lawyer with no prosecutorial experience, to go.
Yeah, that's insane.
In there, and then within days, Comey's indicted even after.
I'm sorry to hear about your incoming loss, Gen X. My grandma is passing away currently, so if you could go ahead and get it over with so I can deal with both simultaneously, that'd be great. I'll try not to die. And I'm sorry to hear that your grandma is passing, Gen X. I am. Life is crazy and horrible and beautiful and tragic and scary and exciting and boring and weird. And it's mixed up into every aspect of our lives. And so we're all mortal. We're all going to face that long walk into oblivion eventually. So we need to act accordingly. We need to live our lives well. We need to build communities. We need to take care of each other. We need to take care of our families. We need to take care of our friends. We need to call out bullshit. We need to speak truth. We need to speak truth to power. We need to fight for what's right. And it's hard. It's hard. And so, I mean, I love life. I never want to die. If I could be immortal, I would be immortal. Unfortunately, God has not given me that as an option, and so I have to eventually die, which sucks. Sad. Fucking L. I have to take the ultimate L, which is dying. But you know, we're kind of all in it together. I'm gonna go get some drugs because I have such a big headache that I want to take some heartburn meds. So the pressure in my chest, I know, is not a cardiovascular incident. And maybe I'll take some ibuprofen or aspirin or something like that so I don't have such a massive fucking headache. We'll see. I'll be right back. But Adam Mockler is fucking cooking. And I want to praise him again. Adam and I probably don't agree on policy. We probably don't agree on a whole bunch of things. But his insightful ability to call bullshit politely is excellent. Be right back.
Rank and file prosecutors, they gave her a declination memo that said, this is why we don't think there's enough evidence. So I don't think this is just the process playing out. I think this is Donald Trump explicitly abusing his power and directing a prosecution of a political enemy.
You said we have to be very clear about what happened. And then you left out the most critical part, where a prosecutor has to go into a grand jury, present the evidence, and make the case why charges are warranted. And the grand jury has to agree with that. In this case, they did. Now, I don't know if he'll be convicted or not, but you can't leave out and deny that there's a critical step where average, ordinary Americans get put in a room and they ultimately have to decide, does a case go or does it not go? And then they will decide whether you're guilty or whether you're not guilty. That is an important part of the process that he cannot really alter or change.
Just worth noting, I mean, two things. One, there was a third charge that the grand jury said no to. But also, I mean, this is, you know, you probably will hear a lot about this as this proceeds. Probable cause is what you need to get a charge, which is a very low bar. Beyond a reasonable doubt is what you need to actually convict. But to Alyssa's point, that may not be the point of the message that's being sent here.
Yeah, Donald Trump has done this with a few people. He directly calls out their name online on his Truth Social, and then within days, you see them either targeted, their show gets pulled off, they get indicted. And when it comes to Eric Siebert, you can sit here and argue that, you know, Trump had nothing to do with this, but it's so clear that he was putting his thumb on the scale when he fired Eric Siebert. And then, what was it, 6 days before the statute of limitations are up, this new federal prosecutor is rushing this through. And I agree, we should let the process play out. It's fine to let it go through a grand jury, but can you at least concede that Trump was putting his thumb on the scale when he posted Comey's name, what was it, 4 days before Comey was indicted?
I don't think anyone is disputing that he thinks James Comey
Did he put his thumb on the scale,
is a bad person who deserves to be investigated, and if a grand jury so chooses,
did Trump put his thumb on the scale, though?
He has never denied that. He's been very clear about it, has he not?
Isn't this all just kind of exhausting for the American public? Like, Trump did run on we shouldn't weaponize the DOJ.
It's exhausting now.
No, it was exhausting when Biden did it. It was exhausting.
Why now we're exhausted.
No. I criticized it when Joe Biden did it.
Can I ask you
but now he's choosing to do the exact same thing at a much grander scale, all while there are fewer jobs than there are people unemployed right now.
Why is president?
Okay, I don't think I can do this, guys. I think I actually have to. I think I have to end it early. Not the entire stream, just this content segment. What bugs me? Maybe I can watch it quietly. Maybe I can not do much commentary. What bugs me about this is that these people know better. That's what bugs me about this. What bugs me about this is these people, they're not delusional. They're not delusional. They probably have an astute understanding of politics and the political moment we're in. They're liars. And the fact that society has given them wealth and power and freedom and a position of privilege, and they're willing to sell their principles and values so cheaply, I think is what genuinely infuriates me, to the degree that I'm just going to describe it for you. I had 2 cups of tea today, black tea. They probably spiked my blood pressure like 5 to 10 points. My anger probably spikes me another 10 points or so. So if I had to guess right now, if I'm normally at 122 over 81, I would guess I'm at like 140 over 90 right now. And I took some pills to calm myself down. But I think what bugs me so much, the reason why I'm so angry today, is because these people, there's something like, there was this quote that I saw on Twitter the other day where it was like, when fascism comes around, you will see people who are the most privileged and least vulnerable bend the knee the fastest. And that quote was associated with a picture of Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos in the company of Trump within the past year. And I think that's what bugs me so much, is these people have been given so much by our country. And I genuinely love our country. I love the principles that have established it. I love our history. I love the many great Americans who have sacrificed themselves and their sacred honor and their fortunes and their lives in order to make the American experiment work. And so I'm like humbled by the sacrifice of previous generations. And I also know that previous generations went through darker times than what we're experiencing. As dark as these times are, they went through worse. And yet, I am flabbergasted. I am spun about. I am furious about the people who our society props up, who have been given incredible amounts of wealth and power and influence, and who are absolute fucking cowards. That's what I'm mad about. I'm mad about the cowardice. I'm mad about, I'm infuriated. I'm infuriated by the cowardice of Trump sycophants. So I'm sorry. Again, I'm sorry. I am very angry.
Running for president.
He had a trial.
Can anyone point to one single example of President Joe Biden, privately or publicly, in any documented evidence of our reality, directing his Attorney General Merrick Garland to prosecute his political opponents, let alone protect his own son, who got indicted under his watch? When did
what?
Show me.
He pardoned him.
I want to hear this.
Tristan Clark says, "Do you think the right wing is going to be capable of purging Democrats?" No, I don't think it's possible. And I'm going to shill. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. If you guys are genuinely worried, and I don't want you to be too worried, okay? I want you to be vigilant, but I don't want you to be too worried, okay? In 2026, I've heard that the Democrats are actually kind of vulnerable because a lot of Trump strongholds are up for election. And so they might underperform in the midterms, but they might still be able to get enough of a foothold in order to hold Trump to account, which would be good. Okay, that's what I've heard. So the midterms are going to be a bellwether for the country. Then the 27, 28 lead up to the general election, to the presidential election, is also going to be a bellwether for the country. We'll find out whether or not Trump is running a third term. We'll find out whether or not J.D. Vance is the prince who was promised. We'll find out what the tenor of the Republican Party is if God, knock on wood, Trump is dead or dying. We'll find out a lot of things in the next 2 or 3 years. However, if you're worried about a political style purge of the Democrats, then I recommend that you help me, quick shill, super chat and memberships, because one of the projects amongst the dozens of projects I want to do is I want to go to Pepperbox TV, which is a pro-gun YouTube equivalent, and I want to make self-defense related content, specifically for liberals who are scared of guns. I think that would be excellent content and a great idea.
Show me the answer to when did he direct Merrick Garland to prosecute Donald Trump?
I want to hear an answer to that.
He publicly, in a Politico story, was reported to have been fuming to anyone who would listen that Merrick Garland was not moving fast enough.
Did he tell Merrick Garland?
He publicly was fuming privately? Is that what was said right there?
He's asked for
did he tell Merrick?
He was in a Politico story. There was reporting on it.
Did he tell Merrick Garland?
I don't know what he did.
Prosecute
here we go.
these specific people?
And by the way, I don't know who lives in Democrat who thinks Merrick Garland.
I think this is super important. So are you suggesting that because Joe Biden was angry about something but didn't express it to Merrick Garland, that constitutes?
You don't know whether he did or he didn't, but I know it was put in a story.
But do you know?
This is what you guys just said. He says things out loud.
Scott,
Joe Biden said things out loud or had it reported in a Politico so people would hear it.
Factual issue.
Hippopotaman says that's Ben Ferguson, not Scott Jennings. I'm sorry for being racist against white people. My apologies.
issue here with this idea that Democrats, Joe Biden did this to Trump.
I didn't bring up Joe Biden. I'm not the person who injected this.
But listen, where's the proof? Don't we need
and to
proof
be honest,
that
I
actually
think
happened?
we either need to agree that weaponizing the DOJ against political adversaries is bad or it's not. I think it's bad regardless of who's doing it. I think that Donald
Which again is like a stupid, naive take. I have no idea who this fucking chick is. She's probably 26. She looks 40, okay? No offense. She looks like an attractive 40, but she looks like she's 40. Why? If a politician commits a crime, they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. The second that the criminal convictions or criminal accusations are brought up by the DOJ, that should not be indicative of the politicization of the DOJ. It should be the DOJ is a standalone judge, which we know is not the case. We know it's not the case that the DOJ isn't biased. And I would cite the most recent example of why the DOJ isn't biased is the DOJ has been sweeping for Jeffrey Epstein for 2 decades across 2 administrations. Actually, across Obama, Trump 1, Biden, and Trump 2. So 1, 2, 3 administrations, the DOJ has swept for Jeffrey Epstein. So we already know. We already know that the DOJ is a political entity. It shouldn't be, but it is.
Trump ran on not doing it, and he is directly doing it here.
Are you sure Comey is not guilty?
No, and I'm not prejudging that. I've talked about this extensively on air. If there is any wrongdoing,
it's bad for Trump to place pressure
I
to
think
indict
that
him.
putting what looks like a DM to your attorney general on Truth Social and being like, we only got a few days, it's not good. It ain't good.
I'm going to ask for them to point out either
Gen X says grandma made it to 95. That's based.
any example of Joe Biden doing this. No example. Scott Jennings said, I don't know anything. That's always your fallback. Donald Trump
was
directly asked
there's a story. There was a story.
Do you remember when Biden said, hey, Merrick,
Merrick,
can you go after this person? It didn't happen. You have no example.
And also,
it's literally in the news. I'm sorry. I know you're like 12, but it happened. It's like it happened.
It was never reported. And also,
it was reported.
No, it was never reported that he told.
Disruptil says, how do you feel about the Brian Johnson don't die movement? I mean, like, listen, I'm all for people taking their health seriously. However, with don't die, he's like the billionaire who's getting blood transfusions from his child. He like eats exclusively health foods every single day. That's precisely calculated. He like measures how many boners he gets in the morning. He measures his, his like metabolic rate or whatever. If all you do, in my opinion, is wake up and measure your biological processes in order to avoid early death, you're not living. That's like the balance. Like I wish I was immortal, but I don't wish I was immortal because I want to perpetuate existence for its own existence. I want to be immortal because I want to see humanity conquer the stars. I want to see humanity conquer the solar system or even find other planets and colonize. I want to see humanity, become like a multi-system species. And I want to see us master the logistics. I want to see us master the genome to the point that we're able to like manipulate our own genetics to the point that we have like uber healthy human beings. I want the human species to reach some level of homeostasis with the planet. I want to build super cities. I want to build crazy technologies, not just military technology, but also civilian technology and hover bikes and hover cars and exotic firearms and exotic, I want to see humanity thrive and dominate the galaxy. And of course, there's going to be like conflict and war and tribalism and death, but it's interesting and it's cool. And I want to be there and I want to see it. The best I have right now, and this is part of the reason why I'm a science fiction nerd, is I have the speculation of what humanity is capable of in the future. I have the speculative imaginings of intelligent people of what humanity is technically capable of. But when we're dealing with modern politics, we're dealing with what humanity is capable of right now. And while that's interesting, it's also wholly disappointing. And so Brian Johnson's attempt to be immortal for immortal's sake No, that's not the point of, that would never be the point of immortality. The point of immortality would not be to perpetuate immortality. It would be to achieve great things on a longer timeline. So no. Brian Johnson is another intellectual disappointment.
They told Merrick Garland to indict.
Right.
And that was never reported. We know that.
Okay.
And also, I just have
That
to
was the
say,
reporting said or not?
Yes,
No,
there was a story.
The reporting said that he told Merrick Garland
The point of the
that.
story was that Joe Biden was mad and he was angry, and the point of the story was that it would get out so that they would feel pressure to move on it.
Wait, and he told who?
It was done in the report.
Okay, Adam, I want to play what Bill Maher said about this is in the same genre and get your take on the other side.
Darth Panzer says, Connor, you don't want to be immortal. You'd pop a blood vessel seeing Bonnie Blue doing her centurial gangbang 6,000 years from now. So true. I want to be immortal. I want my dogs to be immortal. Nobody else, though.
The Democrats definitely need an outsider. To me, the Democratic Party is a ghost brand. And if you could have somebody take it over who's not sentimental about that company and, relaunch it, rebrand it, but it would have to be somebody who is unapologetic about calling them out. People have lost faith in the Democratic Party for very good reasons. And
Just Carpet gifted a Valor Media Network membership. Thank you. Shill again. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chats, super chats, and memberships if you got them. My parasocial love you. Thank you for being here. Liking the stream is free. All right. Sorry for the rough start. The drugs are kicking in. I'll be all right.
And, you're the only one I hear who doesn't look like he cares what the other Democrats will say.
He compared them to Abercrombie and Fitch, a ghost.
I did have a colonoscopy. My father did not, and he died from colon cancer that spread to his liver and compromised it. I had a colonoscopy a month ago because I almost died. And the good news is I don't have cancer.
Brand. What do you think?
I think that, he's right that we need more unapologetic Democrats, but it's more than that. The Democratic brand is two things right now. It's a lot of things, but it's both risk averse and it's very, very finger waggy. So all of our politicians are incredibly risk averse. So they're not out there taking risks or trying to do new things. They're playing it very, very safe. Even as much as I love Kamala Harris and I thought she did well on her campaign, she was very risk averse during all of that. But on the other side of that, while they're being risk averse, they're also just purity testing everybody and finger wagging them. I'm a young dude. I like a little bit of edge in my politicians. I think most young dudes like an edgy politician, not somebody who's out there.
Bro, get some.
They're being, super scripted and tested and everything. So all this comes together to create an environment where I had a young friend the other day who is pretty liberal say that the Democratic Party feels quote unquote suffocating at times. And I think that's a good way to put it.
UNORC renewed their membership. Thank you, King. Parasocial love.
It's that and academic. A lot of times, the simplicity is missing in the message. Donald Trump is being accused of inciting violence after his warning.
Thanks for 5 minutes, whoever this chick is. God, your content sucks, lady. If you were on Twitch and YouTube politics, you wouldn't last a month.
To Democrats. This in response to the new developments in the deadly attack at an ICE facility.
The radical left is causing the problem. They're out of control. They're saying things, and they're really dumb people. I look at Crockett. I look at some of these people. They're very low IQ people, actually.
Jake, it's good to see you, King. Sorry for being such a grump today. I'm just moving deeper in the woods with my tons of rice and beans. Based.
But the radical left is causing this problem, not the right, the radical left. And it's going to get worse, and ultimately it's going to go back on.
Sorry, Razzle says, I definitely watch your liberals who are scared of guns content, Connor. I'm a fairly typical California liberal. I've never shot a gun in my life and could use an entry point. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm a DM Adam Mockler. I'm going to be like, this is what we need to do.
Bad things happen when they play these games. And I'll give you a little clue. The right is a lot tougher than the left. But the right's not doing this. They're not doing it. And they better not get them energy.
Key Code says, this is why I love you, Connor. Well, I parasocially love you too, brother. Mud Farmer says, that's why I'm a Democrat. Well, no offense. I could come up. You guys understand, I came up and I'm sorry for this, again, I'm apologizing, but over the past hour of content or so, I've apologized because I realized the principles that I was raised with, which I still believe in and still think are good for humanity. But I realized how corporate and fake and phony and lying and craven and weak, while crowing about being strong, the Republican Party is. And that's fucking embarrassing. Like genuinely, I'm cringing on their behalf. I'm cringing that they are corporate vampires who don't actually have like a shred of integrity or idealism or adventure in their fucking body, and they sold their soul the second that it was convenient. Like that, I'm embarrassed on their behalf, and I hope God judges them harshly for their cowardice. However, just because I'm saying that about Republicans, which I feel is true, doesn't mean that Democrats are without sin. Now, I'm going to go ahead and save you my rant about the cowardice and weakness and limp-wristedness of Democrats, because I'm not trying to insult people who are like, oh, wow, I resemble that remark. But what I would say is you need to get stronger. Okay? If you are limp, if you are weak-wristed, if you are conflict averse, if you are incapable of seeing yourself within a violent scenario, if you do not have the capacity to tell other people no and fuck off, then you need to wake the fuck up. You need to start lifting weights. You need to eat your veggies and your protein. You need to buy a gun and you need to train with it. And you need to stop being such a fucking pussy. All right? So I hate these corporate phony lying vampire Republican fucks. I hate them with my whole being. I feel like they're the way that I talked about taking God's name in vain, where taking God's name in vain is not saying God damn it. Taking God's name in vain is cloaking yourself in the robes of religion while preaching the opposite of scripture. That's how I feel about Republicans right now. I feel like they cloak themselves in the ideals of republicanism while actually preaching the opposite. They are taking republicanism in vain. And so Democrats need to stop being pussies as well, though.
That was an odd thing to say. I mean,
Alexander says, I would invest more points in intelligence, gives you more mana.
in this moment, the point about the kind of anti-ICE nature of.
Sorry, real quick. Numinax for 5. Any thoughts on 07-010 meeting with Hegseth and Trump at Quantico? Well, I hope it's just a drunk Pete Hegseth talking about the warrior ethos for 3 hours. If it's them trying to get the generals to support a Trump coup, then I'm hoping that so many generals will be horrified by the proposition that they leak it. That they say, oh yeah, Trump and Hegseth, we did a 3-hour PowerPoint presentation about the warrior ethos. And then at the end of it, they tried to get us to support a Trump JD Vance dictatorship. I would love it. And because the truth is that, like, yes, military administration faces all of the same challenges of every other political arena, where there's sycophants and dick suckers who climb to the top. But there's also people who dedicated their lives to the Constitution and to the Republic of the United States, who were willing to die in order to protect the Republic of the United States. And so if there are a few good men at the upper echelons of the American military, I expect them to honor the oath that they've dedicated their lives to.
The shooting is taken, right? We know that. But then for him to say it might come back to them, I'm not sure that is what's right here.
Yeah, I'm pretty tired of conservatives gaslighting about the current political environment and Donald Trump's rhetoric when all of this escalation can be traced back to his entrance into American politics. His claim to fame was saying that Obama wasn't born in America. He was the first presidential candidate to have his crowd chant, "Lock her up," about a political opponent. You can bring up the
Get him, Adam. Get him.
insurrection. Even in the past few weeks, my home city of Chicago, he posted a photo of Chicago being invaded by the Department of War. So the broader point here is Donald Trump endlessly deflects and tries to blame it on the other side when he is the one responsible for amping up the tension in America. And I've spent all of my formative years throughout high school, throughout college, looking to the president, who I'm supposed to be able to look up to, and seeing somebody who's trying to place blame on the left, who's
Eric Dom says, can you make a podcast with Destiny? I really enjoy your talks. Yeah, I already put the ball in his court effectively. I said, hey, man, hanging out once a month, hanging out every 60 days or so and shooting guns and bullshit and talking about politics. It's fun. I hope it's lucrative for him. And I'd be willing to commit to doing it like monthly, effectively. Because even if Destiny's like crashing out and saying crazy shit, I like to think that I ground him a little bit. So, yeah, I'd be happy to do it. I'd be happy to do it. And he has that studio, and that studio is fucking beautiful. Sorry for the F-bomb. That studio's beautiful, and it's just going to waste. So, yeah, like I would be happy to start the Something Else podcast and commit to a minimum of monthly, maybe once every 2 weeks, and doing a show where, yeah, we talk about politics and we talk about what we agree on, but we also fight about Steven doing stupid shit. I would love to do that. But I think I'm going to DM Adam Mockler in a second because he's actually responsive to my DMs. And I'm going to say, hey, bro, what's it going to take to like get you, me, and Pondering Politics to go to a gun range together and just like do like basic firearms self-defense content? Because I think that shit would be fire. Newmanax for 5 says, I think there's a degree of feasibility to the loyalty test idea you mentioned with the Hexus held guillotine in the form of the 20% cut he's seeking. Yeah, but you have to understand, man, generals run their own miniature kingdoms. So generals could take a 20% cut and cut the shit that they think they don't need. And so if there was like a program that they liked, they would keep it. If there was a program that they hated, they would cut it. So that's where, for me, again, maybe I have an overestimation of the American general. Maybe I have an overestimation of the kind of person that it takes to climb to the upper echelons of the American military establishment. But these people aren't stupid. They're not dumb. They're actually very intelligent. And what they have to understand in the context of warfare is incredibly complex. I would say that probably the two most complex topics that you can master but never fully master is warfare and politics. So I would expect some snitching. I really would. I would expect a Republican loyalist. And what I mean by that is somebody who is loyal to the Republic. I would expect them to snitch. I really would.
Amping up the rhetoric constantly, and yeah, it's not good.
So you think it's Donald Trump's fault?
Sorry, this is funny. Darth Panzer says, in before the Quantico meeting is a Red Wedding style purge. I hope not.
That a deranged leftist climbed up to the top of a building and shot up the ICE facility, not once now, but twice in Texas?
I think it's Donald Trump's fault that America has gotten to this heated place. I think that
no responsibility for the radicalization on the left that's causing this violent outburst.
That 29-year-old is radicalized by online communities and online algorithms. I'm not going to blame that directly on Trump, but he was caught in a lot of online video game algorithms and all these communities. Donald Trump,
but it's Trump's
10
fault.
years ago, Donald Trump amped up the tension in America.
So he ran 10 years ago, and this guy then 10 years later, somehow you're connecting. Can't you just take responsibility for it?
Oh,
why is Adam Mockler responsible for an anti-ICE shooter? That's so unbelievably dumb. Again, so just to share, I'm going to share my pill regimen with you guys momentarily. Bex for 5. Is that 1,000,000%? How many zeros is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's 1,000,000%. Democrats need to lose the anti-gun stigma. Said it before, but you can't yell fascism and then call for disarmament as victims of it. Yeah, cringe. Let me tell you guys my pill regimen real quick, okay? So I was on the verge of a stroke, but it wasn't actually a stroke. I probably just had high blood pressure and neck tension, which is going to happen to you as you get older. All right. And so what I took is I took 2 Tums to settle my stomach. My wife is currently looking for Gas X, which is simethicone. And a doctor, a GI, as a matter of fact, swore by simethicone because what it does is it actually goes into your stomach and it like eliminates all of the gas bubbles inside your stomach. So you don't have all that like chest pressure that feels like you're on the verge of a heart attack. So those are 2. If you experience heartburn, if you feel like you're on the verge of having a heart attack whenever you get stressed out, but then you burp instead of having a heart attack, then take Tums and take Gas X. The next thing, though, that I took was hydroxyzine. Hydroxyzine is an antihistamine, but one of the interesting things about hydroxyzine is it makes you chemically incapable of having an emotion. And so right now, I know my brain is still operating at full, although I'll probably get nappy in a little bit. But hydroxyzine effectively makes it so I experience the precursors to an emotion. All right. I experience this guy's pissing me off. This guy's a liar. This guy's a piece of shit. So I have all of the thoughts that like trigger an emotional reaction. But the cool thing about hydroxyzine is it unironically makes you incapable of having an emotional reaction. And so right now I'm furious. I could Scott Jennings or whoever that other guy was. If I could get into a fisticuffs match with either one of those human beings right now, or JD Vance or Donald Trump, if I could engage in fisticuffs, a sanctioned boxing match with any of these people, I would do it right now. And I would be happy. I would do it with a fucking smile on my face. However, because I took hydroxyzine, I do not have the correlated rage that allows me to have a cardiovascular incident on stream. So it's pretty good. Now, the good news is, again, it's not like an SSRI. It's not like a hardcore drug. It's literally an antihistamine, but it has that weird side effect. Bud123 says, Connor does not have emotions anymore. He is now a robot. Not yet. Melody says, lol, Connor sedating his emotions to push ahead. I mean, unironically, I was actually struggling in the beginning of the stream. Too long, didn't watch. Connor is zooted. Not yet. Me, when I degas instead of dying, dying's gay. True. Dying is gay, and not in a homosexual way. Not in a homosexual way. In the lame way. Dubious Gal says, I take hydroxyzine for anxiety to allow me to sleep easier. One of the interesting things about hydroxyzine is that it is an antihistamine. It's not addictive. It's very fast acting. And if you have anxiety about, what is it? Not euthanasia. Why am I such an idiot? The thing that you take in order to do surgery, anesthesia. If you have anxiety about anesthesia, they give you hydroxyzine first because you can still be worried about something logically, but you don't have like the correlated physiological alarm. So yeah. Uriel says, maybe I'm too anti-gun for you, but just like having an apprehension for democratic rule of law because people are dumb, I have some sentiment for people with guns. We could probably break more bread than you would expect, Uriel, but maybe not as much as you would want. So it's just allergy medicine? Yes. Yes. It's allergy medicine with a very weird side effect. So anyways, back to it.
On the left.
Let's not do the he has to take responsibility because he's a Democrat.
I'm a 22-year-old YouTuber. You want me to take more responsibility than the president of the United States?
I want you to understand.
I'm a 22-year-old YouTuber.
I want you to understand that we are in the middle of an epidemic of left-wing violence. They're attacking ICE. They shot Charlie.
Statistically, this is fucking bullshit, but you know, whatever. You can perceive it that way if you want, if you're a fucking pussy.
It's happening all over the country. We have these Free Palestine people running.
Have you asked about beta blockers? No.
Around trying to burn down the Pennsylvania governor's mansion, on and on.
Then
and
maybe
on.
The president.
It's not Trump's fault.
The president of the
United
United
left
States
is radicalized to the point of saying we're done talking and we're going to start shooting.
Scott, is Trump amping down the tensions?
Amping down the tensions?
Yeah, is he taking the tensions down? Is he trying to do that?
I think he's mad that his friend got murdered. If you want that.
The job of the president is to
So the answer is no.
Tone down the rhetoric.
Sorry.
Yeah, you know, number one on the Trump front, we need unifying leadership from the top. You didn't hear Obama Dylan Roof shot up a black church. He's saying Amazing Grace. He didn't say, I will go after my enemies, number one. Number two, we see the data indicates otherwise. There is left-wing violence, right-wing violence. The Cato Institute, far from some far left liberal bastion, said 63% of the murders from political terrorism between 1975 and September 11, 2025 was from the right, right? The second below that is jihadists at 23%. So the data doesn't, and also the DOJ.
Oh, and the jihadist stat omitted 9/11/2001, which is so fucking funny. Now, the closest to like an argument for why 9/11/2001 would be omitted is because it was like an exterior attack. But just as an example, like the San Bernardino shooting, I'm pretty sure those people were here on a visa. You know, Omar Mateen was like the guy who shot up Pulse nightclub. He was here for, I think he was like first generation. So anyways, like the point is like omitting 9/11/2001 when it comes to terroristic violence, as somebody who was a teenager during 9/11, that feels like absolute fucking cope from the left. That way, when you're quoting the statistic, you don't encourage Islamophobia. However, I think the point still stands. I think even right wingers, if they're being honest, they will admit that the right wing engages in less casual violence, right? Like BLM, you know, the arson, the riots, the homicides that correlated with it, but weren't necessarily politically motivated. The left wing engages in like more violence, but it's like less impactful. When the right wing engages in violence, they murder people, like just dozens of people at a single time. So that's where, for me, like the right wing cope of being like the left wing does the violence. It's like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure like most domestic terror attacks in the United States have been related to like the sovereign citizen movement, or they've been white nationalist. So Mud Farmer says, I don't like being on the screen this long. How do you think I feel? I mean, I love being on the screen, truth be told. So let's go.
Scrub the website that said more of the violence comes from the right. And again, I actually don't want to get into the game of blaming, because I actually agree with.
Go for it. Random black guy who I don't know. Get him. Get some.
Adam's take from the other night, where he talked about the.
Nice. Sacred Snow says the real reason 9/11 was omitted was because Bush did it. Well, shouldn't that be considered right-wing violence then, Sacred Snow? Shouldn't they move 9/11/2001 from the fucking from the jihadist category down to the to the right-wing category? That would be hilarious. Like, I'm not okay. Obviously, we're talking about like terrorism, so maybe it wouldn't be hilarious, but I would think it would be funny if the left wing is a shit post, if they redid the same stat. They included 9/11/2001, but instead of including it in the jihadist category, they put it under the right wing category. And then when people got like ass mad and they asked, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, Bush did it." I don't believe that. I think it'd be a funny shit post.
Acceleration of radicalization online. There's a broader problem with young men, incel culture that's going on here. That's not just like, obviously we need our political leaders to.
Yeah. So Zenith makes a good point. Chat as always. Okay. You guys are my saviors. All right. Again, I'm sorry for getting so fucking pissed off this morning and borderline losing my shit, but I think I started the segment mad, and then I just got more mad as I heard like cringe Trump apologia. But Zena says, you guys saved me, okay? Number one, I'm going to shout out hydroxyzine. Thank you, hydroxyzine, for making me temporarily chemically incapable of experiencing emotion. But second of all, I want to shout you guys out, because I do think I genuinely have one of the best chats in Twitch and YouTube politics. I think the reason why Chud Logic has to ignore his chat, I think why Destiny ignores his chat except for when he feels like it, I think the reason why a lot of creators ignore their chat is because they're fucking annoying and stupid. I have a disproportionate amount of actually like smart, insightful people in my chat, and I appreciate you choosing this content to hang out. Zena says, I think it's reasonable to say 9/11 was an outlier, but completely omitting it is silly. But Islamic terrorists are also extreme right wing, and we don't include them there for a reason. I agree that jihadism is effectively like theocratic terrorism. and therefore it could be viewed as an extremist right-wing ideology. But I think we differentiate it because the Muslim population is so small within the United States that it should stand alone. Also, it punches way above its weight class. So I agree with you, but I also think the differentiation is valid. Kingslayer says, I always say, if you want to omit 9/11 with those stats, you should also omit the OKC bombing. It still shows right-wing violence is more, but 45% instead of 63. Sure. I'm with you. But OKC, OKC, I think they include it because it's one of the most, how do I phrase this? One of the most prominent right-wing terrorist attacks in the past 3 decades.
Be more representative of like positive masculinity and of not just blaming the other side. I mean,
AF Racing says beta blockers can help in fight or flight is kicking in during times where it shouldn't. People take them for public speaking and I think PTSD, but I could be wrong on the latter. Interesting.
that, you know, every time there's an instance of violence, saying, you know what, I'm going to prosecute Soros now. Next up, that's not the way to do it. So I think Adam's right. It comes from the top down. And I think at the same time.
Passion 40 says, I'm behind, but besides North and you, who else has values in Twitch and YouTube politics? Jebtan, but he's not creating anymore. I know you guys all think Ryan Mullally is like a dipshit, centrist, whatever. But no, Ryan believes what he says. So you might not like what he says, but Ryan Mullally believes what he says. Trying to think of who else. I think that's it. There's very few. Now, the good news is that I'm going to be going on to Raging Tomato again on Thursday, and I'm going to try not to say the word pedophile or the F slur or the N word or any of those other bad words. That way she keeps having me back for debates. But I'm going to keep going into right-wing spaces and debating right-wingers because, number one, we need to find whatever sane right-wingers are left. Number two, we need to beat up on the insane right-wingers. Like, I love you guys. I love that 60% of my audience are liberals who put up with my bullshit. I do parasocially love you, and you're one of the foundations of the channel. But I think realistically, if I want to grow and grow large and try to fight for the sane right, then I need to get some sane right-wingers in chat. So
now we have two people here who are saying it's Donald Trump's fault that someone shot up an ICE facility.
Nobody is saying that.
You literally said that.
Listen, let me finish.
Tristan Clark says one day you should be big enough to ignore you. I'll never ignore you, Tristan. I will be 40 minutes behind in chat 10 years from now. By then, it'll be 1,000 people chatting, so I'll be like 2 hours behind in chat. But I'll be 2 hours behind in chat a decade from now.
Did you agree with it?
You want to know what I said? I said Donald Trump created this environment over the past decade. You sat here and said, I need to take responsibility. I'm a 22-year-old YouTuber. You hold me to a higher standard than the man that
I'm holding you to your standard of your punditry.
Donald
your
Trump was
punditry
just
is that
vomiting
Trump's
vitriol out of his mouth about how the other party is weak and evil. And he just said the party of hate, evil, and Satan. You blind yourself to that, and you're focusing on a 20.
Damn, maybe I need to get into beta blockers. Sacred Snow says beta blockers are insane. It's a big pool player, or I'm a big pool player, and they're borderline PEDs. I can actually play like I practice during tourneys. I do have, if I was still in law enforcement, I would have enjoyed beta blockers. And the reason why is because, can I tell a law enforcement story real quick? Can we take some time out for some Connor time? Can we do daddy, uncle, war story time? So what's interesting is I'm gonna tell you a sad story and a cool story. So I'll try to make this as brief as possible. There was a traditionally black neighborhood that had about 3,000 residents in the northeast side of the town that I used to work in. And I was already an established patrolman. I've been doing it for 2 years. I was relatively speaking a veteran. I was on night shift 90% of the time. I loved night shift. I loved being a cop. It was one of the greatest things I ever did. But what happened, and I think this broke me a little bit, was there was a shooting in the Northeast where somebody was shooting into the air. And so I drove around, looked for them, couldn't find them. I saw a guy, a Mexican guy, probably an illegal immigrant, truth be told, working on his truck at 11. It was 11 p.m. Working on his truck around 11 p.m. And I walk up and I was like, I'm speaking Spanglish. And I'm like, oh, did you hear the gunshots? He's like, yeah, it was over there, blah, 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 blah. but I didn't see anyone. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever, have a good night. Because this shit happens all the time, right? Like people blasting off gunshots into the neighborhood happens all the time. So I go and I park about 2 blocks away at a park, and I start working on a report. And then we get a shots fired call and somebody injured at the address where I called out that I was talking to the Hispanic guy. So I race to his address, and I'm already upset. My adrenaline's through the fucking roof, and I show up and he's gut shot. The guy I had talked to, and I'm actually like I'm like sad now. He lived, but I'm sad now. But I was angry at myself. I was angry at the people I was chasing, but I was angry at myself because what would have happened if I did an extra lap instead of working on my paperwork? What would have happened if I hadn't been so casual about gunshots being normal in the Northeast? What if, even though he only spoke Spanish and I spoke to him in Spanglish, what if I in Spanglish told him like, hey, you need to go inside? And what if he went inside instead of getting gut shot? And so I have all these things, like they're not conscious thoughts. I'm not experiencing conscious thoughts. I'm just experiencing emotion. And my emotion is like fear and anger and sadness, more intense than I've ever felt in my entire life. And what's happening is my heart is pounding out of my chest so hard that I'm worried I'm on the verge of having a heart attack. Like I'm genuinely worried I'm on the verge of having a heart attack. So I try to render medical aid by like holding his guts. But there's not a lot of blood because I think there was an entry wound. I don't think there was an exit wound. And there wasn't very much blood because I think it went into his intestines and it didn't rupture any blood organs or whatever, any major blood vessels. And so I'm supposed to be holding this guy's guts in, and I just can't because I'm on the verge of having a heart attack. And so my supervisor shows up on scene. He renders medical aid. He gets the family to keep pressure on the wound while we get fire department in. I'm pacing back and forth, trying not to have a heart attack. And then basically firefighters arrive. And so they take over the scene. My supervisor sees that I'm fucked up, and he lets me the guy ditched the gun across the street. And so while all the rest of the shift is running around chasing this whoever shot this guy, while they're running the dogs and the helicopter gets called out and all that kind of stuff, I'm babysitting the gun, and I'm just staring at this fucking gun for like 2 hours, and I'm so angry, and I'm so sad, and I'm angry and sad at myself. Well, since that incident, I was kind of shook. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of shook. And there was a call that went out for a fight and gunshots fired. And the same thing happened again, where my adrenaline was so bad that I was incapable of operating. I was incapable of doing what I never even got to the scene because my adrenaline was so bad. And it was on the other side of town, and everybody got there first, and they got the scene controlled before I would have even got there. But I hated myself. I hated myself because my adrenaline was so out of whack that I was incapable of performing during that initial scene where a guy that I should have told to go inside got shot. And then I was incapable of performing on that second scene. Now, I hated myself. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that I didn't have W's after that either. So after those two incidents where my adrenaline was just totally out of whack, I snuck in and I arrested a meth guy. I could tell like a guy who threatened to murder his mom, and I creeped on him, and he was bigger than me, and I got him into handcuffs. I got into a crazy fist fight with another guy who was high on cocaine and high on and drunk on vodka. And I wrestled him and I beat him and I got him into cuffs. And so I had W's after these two L's. But these two L's stuck with me. And I think the reason why they stuck with me so hard was because I couldn't control it. My conscious brain was saying, get your heart rate under control, do box breathing. Let's get this under control so we can go do our jobs. And so my conscious brain was saying that, but my body was screaming. Like my heart was just saying like, no, like you're in a fight right now. You need to have the maximum level of adrenaline. no, you're in a serious situation right now. You need to have the maximum level of adrenaline. And so if there's something like beta blockers, which again, I haven't checked out, but I've had, PTSD or anxiety flashes like that in random stressful situations since getting out of the service. Now, the truth is I was able to separate myself from the scenario. I was able to breathe. I was able to get it under control. I was able to talk myself out of it, all that kind of stuff. But that's because I didn't have a job to do. Whereas if I was still in law enforcement, beta blockers borderline sound like a fucking superpower. Because if I was able to do what I needed to do and still have enough awareness and adrenaline to be strong in those scenarios, but not so adrenalined out that I was out of control, that's a fucking superpower. That's a fucking physiological superpower. But anyways, we'll get back into the content momentarily, but I want to check in with chat a little bit. Hans Mayer says, Raging Tomato is so blonde, I can't listen to her. Melody says, Connor will be so big, we'll be an hour into the video and not even know it's muted. True. I'm going to technically fuck it up, absolutely. Wait, you're not the dipshit centrist? Well, I mean, I am, but thank you. Zena says, my problem with Rami Malali is that he claims that he's defending the Constitution is the most important thing, but didn't think it was necessary to vote against Trump. Yeah, I know. Is Raging Tomato some new version of Britney politically provoked? Yes, but I think she's actually better. AF Racing says, I'm begging for more law enforcement officer content. Well, I just gave it to you. Unork says, I'm pretty sure your beard is a beta blocker. True. Mud Farmer says, propranolol is standard for performance anxiety. Not all beta blockers have this effect. Interesting. Christian Blair says, dude ends up getting shot and Connor blames himself for not telling that dude to get inside. Well, I do. Tagring says, Uncle Connor, your stories are always about terrible things happening to people or just straight boring shit. True. I would watch this content again. More cop stories. Cool. Disrupty says, damn, that shit could fuck someone up. Dude, I'm just going to share it too, just while we're at it. I lost a baby, a crack baby, and that fucked me up. So I just got a call for like a medical call. It was already at the hospital. It was suspected neglect. And what was going on was a baby was dying because it was a crack baby. And the grandpa was taking care of it. The mom had already abandoned the kid. And the kid was falling out. And the doctors were doing everything they could. But none of the doctors had the stones to tell the grandpa that he was about to lose his grandson. And so I had to tell him, sorry. I had to tell him, and he had other grandkids that he had to take care of because his fucking daughter was a piece of shit. And so, I had to tell him, and that fucked me up too. So yeah, so that's the kind of shit, man, where like, yes, I'm going to use this to grandstand, okay? I'm going to use this to grandstand. That's when Rob Knorr or American Nacho or these other fucking losers, they say, oh, Connor, you betrayed your integrity. You have no honor. You're a liar and a piece of shit. It's like, no, I know what I am. No, I know what I am. I tell the truth, even when it's inconvenient. I tell the truth as maximally as possible. And no, I'm not a coward. I've done things that these people would fucking shit themselves. I've done things that these people are physically, spiritually, mentally incapable of. I know what I am. I know what I am. And so if I get angry when weak men across the internet say I'm a coward or I'm a loser or whatever, if I get angry, it's because they haven't seen what I've seen. They haven't done what I've done. If they knew who I was, if they cared to know who I was, if they'd been through what I'd been through, and then they were saying that shit, maybe I would take their words a little bit more seriously. But to them, I think this is also just a game. This is also just a game. And so that's why I do get angry. I cuss them out. I say naughty words. But ultimately, I sleep like a fucking baby with criticism from fucking losers like that. Sorry for making it real. Tagrung says this is why it pays to not have feelings. True. Seven says I'm on propanol for hyperthyroid and that shit fucks. Based. Mud Farmer says, fuck me, I'm getting secondhand anxiety. Yeah, it sucked. Sapien Green says, are you sure you didn't have an anxiety attack? I'm sure I did. Tagroom says, does sound like an anxiety attack, to be honest. Well, it was. Mud Farmer says, there was an episode of House MD where an undercover cop took propanol, and that was the problem. He couldn't admit it. Fashion 40 for 5 says, thank you for your humanity and vulnerability. Yeah, well, you know, it is what it is. So, AF Racing says, Shrinks, you mentioned feeling cooked, which obviously isn't poggers. Let's focus today's session on getting you some W's and feeling more based and white pilled. Oh, shit. So, yeah, the guy lived, okay? So just to share, the guy who got gut shot, he lived. We caught the guy's incarcerated, all that kind of stuff. The lady who neglected her kid, did drugs while she was pregnant and ended up killing her kid. As far as I know, she's still out there somewhere being a fucking junkie. But if I could, I would at minimum incarcerate her and do forced detox and forced therapy. At maximum, I would crucify her. You know, I know that crucifixion would not solve any of the world's problems, but you know, you see an infant fall out, you're ready to crucify someone. So, yeah, sorry for making it too real, but yeah. Yep. Rob Nord, the self-confessed bad faith actor. Yep. This is happening says lots of people can't talk about the trauma they've endured and can't articulate it and how it felt. It has affected them and continues to affect them. Glad you're able to be open about it. Yeah, it fucked me up. And that was one of the things when I had my first kid. I was like, I don't think I can do this job anymore, because I didn't think I was capable of seeing that kind of thing and segmenting my humanity during a shift and then like holding my son a few hours later. I don't think I was psychologically capable. Fashion 40 says, being a heroin baby and almost losing my brother when he was 6 months because of a druggy mom, I totally got an emotional flashback. All right. Anyways, so sorry for making it real. Let's get back to the autism. But I'm going to go ahead and shill like a piece of shit. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with the chat. Lots of smart, interesting, cool people in there. Super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. And then what I'll share, I think part of the reason why that rant came out is because this smug bitch on our screen right now is probably 40 or 50. He's probably like a fucking Nepo baby. He probably got like a 6-figure job straight out of college. He's probably some dickhead who was born on third base. And so as a result, for him to come out here and fucking tell us how the world is and tell us how society is and sweep for one of the most corrupt, fucked up, incompetent regimes on the planet, it basically tells me that he's never done what I've done. He's never had the shit end of the stick. He's never eaten shit for a living. He's never worked a fucking working class job. He's never seen death up close. He's never fucking done any of this shit. Because if you do any of this shit, it's almost physically impossible to talk with the level of like corporate lizard sociopathy that these fucking freaks who run our society do. And so, yeah, like that's where I'm at, where, you know, I'm going to say sorry again. I'm sorry for kind of like coming in so fucking heated that I was barely able to control myself today. But I think that's why I got so fucking heated. I think that's why I get so fucking heated, is because we're being run by these lizard corporate lying fucks. And to them, the death and misery that they cause is a fucking game. And that's why I get so angry. So. Quick before we get back into it, Connor is probably the most normal dude in the scene, to be honest. I'm trying. I'm failing, but I'm trying. Fung Dark says, thanks for making it real, big dog. I appreciate you. Oh, WikiDetron72 says, money, money, money. Money makes the world go around. Tagring says, God loves you and died a human death to absorb and absolve all that sin and pain. I don't believe you, but that's okay. Fashion 40 says, don't apologize. Being human is the only thing that will keep a marriage together. True. We need more of it. True. All right. Anyways, I parasocially love you guys. Let's keep going.
22-year-old YouTuber.
Since I've been in politics, I was working for members who were with Scalise during the congressional shooting. We didn't know if they were okay for many hours. I remember what happened. People didn't say, oh, he was a Bernie bro, so we're going to come for the Bernie bros. Yeah. There was this nature of we are going to realize something terrible happened and we're going to move on. You pointed to Dylan Roof, which political in the way that Obama handled it, but the Minnesota lawmakers, Paul Pelosi, I understand why the right feels like they're the victims more. I asked somebody very close to me who's a big MAGA person, and they said, well, they tried to kill the president twice and they just shot Charlie Kirk. Everyone in America knows those two things happen. Most Americans can't name those Minnesota lawmakers. They probably think something happened to Paul Pelosi and they don't really know. But the data itself is pretty clear. This is a problem we have to acknowledge that exists on both sides. The sooner we take responsibility for all our rhetoric, and there is left-wing rhetoric that I think is very dangerous and contributes to the anti-sentiment. But this is not one side only.
We're back, and it's time for your unpopular opinions. You each have 30 seconds to tell us yours.
Yeah, mine is on the most important story of the week, okay? The rapture. The TikTokers that were preparing for the rapture, they need to be hired by FEMA, okay?
I was going to skip the segment, or this last little bit of the segment, but I'm happy I didn't. That's strong. That's a strong joke. This guy's a dork, and Adam Mockler is out-competing him. But this is a funny fucking point. Good for this guy.
Sure, they got the timing wrong slightly, but the preparation and the detail orientation was fantastic. They were talking about where to position your arms when you're being raptured. They were saying don't look down as you're flying through the air. Really pointed suggestions that we need in FEMA so that that could be directed. And then you unleash this swarm of influencers.
You know, my side is going to eat me alive for this, but I do think Donald Trump is right. Diet Coke is the best drink on the planet. Like, I can't get enough of it. You can't even overdose on the thing. I need to chill out on it.
That's not an unpopular opinion. That's a popular opinion.
If you said Diet Pepsi, I feel like that's highly unpopular.
All right. That was cute. That was a cute way to end it. I parasocially love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow on Counterpoints Politics. And yeah, y'all have a great one. Bye for now.